各位观众朋友们，大家好，欢迎收看我们 J 与 J 论坛，由我跟 Jim Note 一起来为大家讨论这个礼拜的时事。How are you doing, Jim?
I'm doing fine. And I'm still trying to figure out everything that's going on in this new year. And maybe by next Christmas, I'll get it.
I hope it won't take that long. We had a very crazy week. Since we last spoke, the insurrection day of reckoning for a lot of us Americans. 自从上礼拜我跟 Jim 讨论这个国会的暴动，这个等于是造反一样。我们这个礼拜又经过了很多事情，很多 a lot of more information has come out. Has your viewpoint, what is your take since last Thursday? Between last Thursday and now, have you gotten more information that changed your opinion or what you believe in regarding the insurrection?
Well, I think to say that Trump incited everything all by himself and lay most of the blame for all of the problems, I think is a bit of overreach. And I absolutely believe that many Republican never-Trumpers and most of, if not all of Democrats are enjoying the piling on. Hating Trump is the thing that unites all the Democrats. And what will happen when Mr. Trump leaves the political scene is two big things I think will happen. Number one, the Democrats will fragment because they will lose the uniting force. They're a bunch of coalitions of people that really don't fit together very well anyway. That's number one. And number two, much of the political attention in the world that is attracted to some of the mainstream, and I'll call it left-wing media, will go away because they love to have Donald Trump. Most of the last 4 years, something well in excess of 50% of news activity has been focused on Mr. Trump. And when he's not there, the media are going to have to change their diet and get other things to think about, which I think will be very healthy. I'll be happy to have him exit the stage. I have no idea what he is going to do next, but I think his personal life, his business life, his political life will all be in shambles.
Well, I think he needs to be in jail, but you know how I feel about this.
Yeah, but I think the world is going to have a big readjustment of what happens without Trump.
Well, okay, let me translate what he said. 各位观众，他是一贯的保守的这个还是他的想法还是比较保守。他说我们不能全部都怪川普，我们不能全部都说是他的错。然后呢，那我们是要怪到谁呢？怪这些暴民吗？或者是我们要怪他这样的意思说，因为媒体的报道都是一面倒，都是倾向 criticizing 川普，所以这个 media 呢，这个媒体现在没有川普了就没有话题了，但是他也很看好，希望以后不会有这些问题。So I beg to differ, Jim, to respond to discuss what you said. You know, a few months ago, our show actually touched on this. On the relationship between Trump, his supporters, the GOP, and media. I really beg to differ because the media reports, Trump creates the news. He says and does these outlandishly illegal things. When you say that he's not at all responsible, do we even accept a little bit of accountability?
No, I didn't say he was not
really not. You said that he's not all responsible. Yes, I got what you said.
I believe many of these people planned to come to disrupt. Many of them are on fringe groups that maybe they like Trump, but they are not representative of the necessarily broad base of Trump.
But yet, Antifa and BLM represents what the Democrats want. It is always double standard. I can't stand hypocrisy.
Not necessarily. I think they're fringe groups too.
Jim, we're moderates. Can we agree? We both are moderates. We want what's best for this country. We know we need two-party system. I keep repeating, GOP is finally jumping ship. They're done with Trump too. Now, for us to even justify or to give him excuses, haven't we given him enough excuses for 5 years? Now, his people win. The people win there. It's not just all on him. He did say these things. These are facts. The media will report on it. Now, you can say the media is always left-leaning, but the fact is, if we flip the script, if President Obama incited the crowd to go into Congress, he will be hung within the next day. Why is it always double standard? The hypocrisy is astounding. And let me be clear, Trump broke laws. He's impeached for the second time that's a first in history. He lost a populist. I mean, there's so many firsts with him. The one thing I agree with you is I welcome the peace and being able to see the policy of our government instead of the show and the distractions that Trump does. I firmly believe he needs to be in jail.
So I think the wisest thing is to let him go. Just let him fade into the sunset. And if the new Biden Justice Department thinks that he broke laws, then prosecute him. But do it out of the glare of dominating everything. Let life get on. Let's focus on fixing the pandemic, getting the vaccines out, reopening our economy.
None of these things that Trump did, which he was supposed to do, but he didn't. So now we're saying that if 9/11 happened, when 9/11 happened, do we say, hey, let them go, let Al-Qaeda go, enough distraction. You know, we got to rebuild New York and move on. We let them unpunished because it just doesn't help our country. No. It doesn't work that way. They're terrorists. They're domestic terrorists, and Trump is the head of this terror group.
Then if there are domestic terrorists, then let the FBI, let law enforcement, let the Justice Department prosecute them.
Agreed.
They've done a strong job. Within just a week, they've got hundreds of people already indicted. Some are already in jail. They've got all the facial recognition software that's going on. They're in the process of finding people elsewhere. Let them go. That's fine. Let the system work. But when they get prosecuted and they're convicted, keep them in jail. They should keep all criminals in jail. Not go ahead and book them and not have people like Kamala Harris raise money in order to give them bail to spring them. Okay? Keep the
this is not a political issue,
jail.
Jim. It's not about politics. This is bipartisan. This is about whether someone broke the law, whether they were treason. He committed a high act of treason. Him and his people and GOP, the ones that question the vote, the ones that admit that this is not fraudulent. 42 lawsuits thrown out. This farce needs to stop. Now, they need to be in jail. I agree. They need to be in jail. But this is not about politics. This is about whether someone
they need to be in jail. And if the people in the Republican Party and other places that believe that voter irregularities actually occurred, they need to pursue them continuously in the courts and in the political sphere. Okay? My observation is the Republicans in some of the swing states, like Michigan, like Pennsylvania, went to sleep and allowed changes in voting rules to occur that did not comport with either the state constitutions or the federal constitution.
This sounds like you're justifying the actions of the treasonous, this violence.
No,
that's justified.
Two different issues.
There's two different issues. That has nothing to do with what they did last week.
They're completely different issues. Completely different issues. Okay? If the laws were broken on the election changes, then they need to be pursued in court.
Sir, they did pursue it in court. 42 suits thrown out in Republican-controlled states. There is no merit. The Supreme Court threw it out. So if I lose, I'll just keep suing until I win, until I get my result.
Jimmy, you're making my point.
Yes.
The Republican legislatures in both houses of the Pennsylvania legislature are headed by Republicans. They went to sleep while the Democratic Attorney General, the Democratic Secretary of State, the Democratic elected Supreme Court changed the rules, I believe, inappropriately. But we're not going to, you and I are not going to settle it by arguing.
There's
here,
a pandemic,
okay?
Jim. There's a pandemic. That tends to
I know. What did I say a few minutes ago? The political leadership, the business leadership needs to solve that. Solve the other things outside of the day-to-day, minute-to-minute glare. But why does the mainstream media keep doing this? Because it sells newspapers. It sells advertising because they love controversy.
You know what? Let's talk about media, because between me and you, there will no be, because you're still basically saying stop the steal. You're saying this election is unfair and unjust. You're saying that President Biden did not win. That's what you're accusing of, because the lawsuits have been thrown out, whether it's Republican. Okay, you know what? Let's talk about media. Because me and you, this will never end. We've been arguing about this for 3 months. We're so far apart. It's just me, not just me and all my friends.
We're far apart, Jimmy, because you and I do not have legitimate facts. We're
logical, reasonable people. We're highly educated. We know how to decipher information. If you want to tell me right now that if this is the Democrats doing it, I will condemn them the same way and saying that they need to stop spreading rumors. You already lost. If Al Gore did this, if Hillary did this, I will say the same thing. However, for Republicans and right-wingers, they will not, because it's all about party line. Party above country. That's what Trump has trained us. That's Trump has lied, and the media is being blamed. We talk about media right now, Jim. What you said earlier really hurts me. It hurts me because you said media is liberal only. Media is controlled by Democrats. Then how come the Democrats did not win in 2016? How come the Democrats did not win in 2000? How did this insurrection happen?
I can tell you.
How did this happen?
I can tell you a very simple reason why the Democrats did not win the presidency in 2016. 2 words: Hillary Clinton. We've had 2 national elections where the candidate that won because voters voted more against their opponent than they did for them. More people voted for Trump because they couldn't stand Hillary, and more people voted for Biden because they couldn't stand.
Let me make this straight. Hillary Clinton did not commit any crimes. All the accusations they threw at her during election was not true. Like you said, put them in jail. How come she's not in jail? Trump never kept his promise because his promises are fraudulent. Is spreading rumors and conspiracy to win. And also, Trump committed crimes that Hillary did not. Trump mishandled the pandemic. Trump incited an insurrection. People were killed. And this is on him. So you know what? Media. Let's talk about media. Let's stop this.
Talk about media.
Because we've been having a good week. I don't want to always get worked up. Me and you, we're real. This is why we could talk, because we agree to disagree. We might get worked up, but in the end, we have to live. We're not sitting here, right? We're living. We're normal citizens that are concerned for the rest of our people. Now, you keep saying media is liberal, left-leaning.
I said mainstream media.
Okay, mainstream media. So media that is not mainstream, independent media, is more fair and unbiased, right? So what is not mainstream?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I think you have media literally all over the place.
Anybody is media now because you have YouTube channel.
Anybody can be the media. Anybody can go publish anything they want.
Have you read up on some of these so far independent media that are supported by these neo-fascist right-wing Nazis? Parlor. Okay, for example, Epoch Times, very big news media.
The which Times? I'm sorry.
Epoch, E-P-O-C-H.
Oh, Epoch Times.
Epoch, to be honest. Do you know who they're funded by?
I did it one time.
Yeah, you can look it up and you'll know what I mean.
Is that Sun Myung Moon?
You're right. Most media have their own perspective. Depends on who's funded by. But do you know why this country is great? Because in a dictatorship, in a totalitarian state, for example, like in Taiwan, the media is controlled by whoever's in power, by this current administration. Yeah. In the U.S., it is not. No. If Trump tried, but he did not. That's why we have fair and balanced report. That's why people still can see. Now, we know
fair and balanced. You're quoting Fox News.
Fox has abandoned Trump too. Fox has abandoned Trump. Fox wants to get views. They want to get advertising money. I get it. Yeah. But the fact is, how do we balance what is real media, what is real, what's fake, and what is, people are talking about freedom of speech. Oh, Trump should not be. I cannot go on media. We're both considered media personality. I have a press pass. I've been in media for over a decade. But I cannot go on this show right now and incite violence and spread. Hitler cannot go on, if he's alive, go on YouTube right now and tell everyone to murder and decimate a race. I cannot come on here and say that I hate a certain race and hang them. It doesn't work like this. If I was Al-Qaeda, could I come on this and say, US and say, hey, incite violence and beheadings? Why is there always double standard? This is not about freedom of speech. This is not about media bias. This is, you cannot allow people to incite violence. And could you, okay, I want to hear your take on this because I'm Jim, you look very serious right now. I'm worried now. And there you go. I want to see a little smile. I want to see what you feel about the balance. Who judges freedom of speech? And the fact is, media and social media, it's not just traditional media, social media, technology companies. We both agree. We talked about this before. The laws and regulations haven't caught up yet because Google and Facebook and Instagram is just the last 10, 15 years, it's been going so fast. So the Congress are older folks. They don't really understand how Facebook works. We went through this hearing years ago. How do we regulate something that Congress doesn't understand? What do you think? What do you think about freedom of speech and technology and social media? How do you balance that?
I think the internet is a wonderful invention. I think it's not just a television or a newspaper. It's a one-way communication. Somebody writes it, they read it, they distribute it. It's a perfect tool for a dictator. You said the same thing a moment ago describing what happens in Taiwan. The internet, people can send and receive, and they don't all have to send it to the same place or receive it from the same place. You have a whole network of things, and you have low barriers to entry. So anybody can come in and start publishing things, distributing things, whatever they are.
Agreed.
A good recipient, a responsible citizen, a responsible business, a consumer of news wants to look for reliable sources of information or wants to listen to or read things that promote decisions or points of view that they've already had. So news isn't always news. News is sometimes bolstering, is sometimes advocacy, it's sometimes, and it's a very difficult, sometimes confusing mix. But I believe out of the chaos will come over time reality and truth. Is it smooth? Is it simple? No. But I strongly suspect most of the people in the world want a single or a small number of channels of information that they can look to because it's simpler that way. Really, what people should be doing is looking at a broad diversity of things and trying to figure it out. Or don't bother. I mean, I think my life, probably yours, would be just as simple, just as easy to live if we received only 5% of the information we think we get now. In other words, we could cut out a whole lot of things and it wouldn't change. It wouldn't change the reality of how much money we have in our pocket or what we need to buy to feed our families. That wouldn't change much. But to come back to your question, what do I think about social media and freedom of speech? I think it ought to be just totally open, absolutely open. And you're going to say, well, somebody can't incite violence. Okay, that's a nice objective. But I don't think it's up to somebody who runs Twitter or Facebook to determine who is dangerous and who isn't. If they think somebody is dangerous, guess what they should do? They should inform law enforcement. Law enforcement should go check those people out. And then you're going to say, yeah, but we don't have enough police to do all of this. Okay, well, if you think that somebody at Facebook or at Twitter can exercise that kind of judgment, I don't believe they have huge staffs that do this. They may have great algorithms that try to find patterns in speech and all of that sort of thing. Then we need to endow our law enforcement agencies with that kind of expertise and skill. And if we should take some attention off foreign terrorism and put it onto domestic terrorism, I think that's a fine objective if people that run those are capable and responsible and are attuned.
How do we inform law enforcement on the commander-in-chief who himself and his GOP followers are inciting violence? How do we ask them to, where's the check and balance?
Well, I think the check and balance is all over the place. The president is not a dictator. There's checks and balances.
He tried. He tried.
No, well, okay, he tried. Many people think he tried too hard and he failed. Okay, look, the best thing is the ballot box. You're one of the guys who believes that the election was perfectly done, perfectly fair. Look, the country rejected Mr. Trump. They say enough is enough. It's time to go away. Okay. Was I happy with what the Trump Justice Department did and didn't do? No, I wasn't.
Trump's own official appointed to oversee elections said this is the safest and most secure election in history. His own official, and he got fired for it. So,
no, he didn't get fired. No, William Barr quit.
I mean, under his administration, okay, fine, he quit.
Okay, no, I think.
You're telling me that whatever the president says, if I disagree, then it becomes the truth or not? Because there's no problem when he wins.
No, the president can't manufacture truth.
This is a very bad president, Jim. This is a very bad president.
By the way, truth sometimes is in the eye of the beholder.
If we say that, and we question everything, then there is this foundation, our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, then none of it matters anymore, Jim. If we want to say that.
I think
gray areas and everything, but there are certain things that we hold dear to.
I think it matters tremendously. That's why the court system needs to be strong.
But the court system proved it right. It threw out every single lawsuit, whether they're Republican controlled or Democrat. You know what's beautiful about our country is the separation of powers.
Sure, it is, and it works.
Judges are non-influenced, and I love it. Our Supreme Court, majority conservative, appointed by Trump himself, has rejected suits.
Yeah,
Trump and Giuliani, these people are going to jail. They need to be in jail, Jim.
Yeah, well, we agree on that. And my own opinion is judges should not be elected.
Appointed only.
They should be appointed by blue ribbon panels that are created through another mechanism, not unlike the way the president appoints the Supreme Court, but they have to be confirmed.
That's what they do in communist China and in Russia. That's what they do. And in Venezuela. That's what they do there. We criticize them for human rights, for not being a democracy. What are we doing here, Jim?
What are we doing where? I think the Supreme Court appointment process works pretty well.
Okay, that's a whole different episode we have to talk about. You know, last week, I don't want to stay away from this because there's so much we could delve into this. I think that within the next few weeks we will. But something very important that we missed talking about last week that I want our viewers to hear.
Okay.
After we finish recording, we talk about vaccine. Me and you, we're not sitting here saying we're better than anybody because we're not. Mm-hmm. But you are at the age where you could get vaccine. I actually have a way to get vaccine, being friends, whatever it is. But we both refuse to get it because what you said hit, I completely agree with, and hit a chord. You said that there are people that need it more.
Yeah.
So let them get it first. We could tough it out. We could quarantine. We could, wait it out. Be careful, and because you have elderly parents at home, you yourself is qualified for it. I want our viewers to hear this: that just because you have access, just because you have the income or the connection to get it, doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, I think there's two big problems going on right now. Number one, the major problem is we don't have enough vaccine to go around. I just don't understand why it cannot be produced at a faster rate. But I'm not going to change that no matter what I think. The supply chain is screwed up. I don't know what it is. I think the allocation mechanisms are partly to blame. But so we can't get it out. But then, and it's human nature, many people are trying to jump the lines and get in higher priority than I believe they really deserve. And 1A, 1B, whatever. I know many people associated with some of the big hospital systems that are not 1A or 1B, but they somehow are getting the vaccine. And I just think it's totally inappropriate. They're finally coming out, the CDC is finally coming out and saying that hospitals are not the best places to have the vaccine administered. They should be done in corner drugstores. Agreed. Or in major facilities. Let people come. If you're, my own preference would be to say, okay, you're never gonna identify people's comorbidities to have a pure allocation of who's the most vulnerable. I don't think that is statistically possible with data, et cetera. So just say, okay, everybody 75 or over, you qualify this week. Next week, 70. Next week, 65. And just keep working on down. And okay, yes, I do believe some people that are on the front lines deserve that, but not their spouses, not their children, not their third cousins, or no.
I love it. I love what you just said. So, I love the fact that it's coming from you, because for people that are talking out there, they assume, because it's not the facade, is that there's just our society, our country, there should be more kindness, more compassion, more empathy. And the fact that it seems the facade is that, if you're privileged, if you're connected, you'll get it. Yeah. That doesn't mean that's true, because you could get it if you want to. I know I could get it if I want to, but we're not, because of the fact that this is beneficial for the entirety of the society, for our entire society. If more people think like this, then we won't have a lot of problems. But this relates back to, of course, the accountability of current administration, and goes back. Also, this is related to media too, right? Social media too, because how do you spread the word on the vaccine itself? And the fact that a lot of people that I know personally thinks the vaccine is unsafe, there'll be a chip in it, or, I don't want to be a guinea pig. So they rather be on a ventilator than get the vaccine, which is proven to be pretty highly effective. I mean, if you cannot trust our pharmaceutical companies, then who could you trust? We're the leading, right? I mean, the United States, our medical community, our pharmaceutical companies are the best in the world.
They're the best. They're the best in the world. As far as I'm concerned, if somebody doesn't want the vaccine for whatever crazy reason they have dreamed up, let them give it up. I don't care. It's like, to come back to politics, some people weren't going to vote because they didn't like the election. Mm-hmm. That's the stupidest logic I have ever heard.
I agree.
So you're going to sacrifice yourself? You know, it was like that line in Blazing Saddles, stop or I'll shoot.
Shoot them. Great analogy. Great analogy. So true. But you know, the sad thing is that let's say in a few months, everyone get the vaccine, everyone that's willing.
Yeah.
The pandemic will not stop because there's still a huge proportion of people that.
Oh yeah. No, look, it's going to be months. It's going to be months. So. What about the science?
What happened to believing in? I mean, I just like you said, right? What do you believe in? Do you want to question everything? Truth is different to people. When you said earlier, truth is different to your different perspective. But I mean, science is science. There's no such thing as your perspective on science. Same thing with math. I mean, same thing with history. Is your perspective may be different, but history is written by the winners. But so I look at the history written by the losers. You see all sides, and then you can make a judgment. But there's no such thing as ambiguous. Science is not ambiguous. This vaccine is not whether you could question it.
Well, Jimmy, science evolves basically on experimentation basis, trial and error basis, etc. And over time, larger truths become more accepted, more proved, etc. There's so much more we do not know about the whole transmissibility of this COVID-19 virus and how it sometimes mutates into things. We don't know why certain people, look, back to the media for a moment, they've used two words to scare the hell out of everybody: contagious and infection. Okay? This virus is contagious, and many people get infected by it, people who are positive. That doesn't mean they get sick. Okay? There is something in it that we don't understand that triggers people actually getting sick. Now, we do know that the chance of getting sick is enhanced if you have comorbidity, okay? We do know that. Those people are the most vulnerable. We do know that it changes with age, okay? Those are things. But we don't know why a person 40 years old in perfect health may get sick, and most other people who test positive at 40 years old don't get sick. We don't know that yet. So to say that science knows everything, or that science and scientific judgments should trump, excuse the term, should overrule every other judgment, I think is foolish.
And it's not fair to compare that, I think, because this is a new virus. We're still learning about it.
We're still learning.
So of course we cannot say it's 100%. But you want to talk about science? I tell you what, okay, you said we don't know this, we don't know. You know what we do know? We do know that wearing a mask reduces the risk tremendously. We do know that it spreads by air, so we won't have the social distance. How come we know all these things? Why is the administration, from Trump to the media to right-wing media to a lot of these supporters, disobey science? That's what I meant. You do not question these science because this is true. This is facts. You wear a mask, you social distance. But why are we questioning that? Explain that. Because that is not part of the vaccine, or that's not part of what we don't know. What we do know is this. And what we do know is other countries follow the protocol and it worked. It's under control. It's back to normal. We cannot claim that we want to have this and that, and then have the cherry on top too. You cannot have both sides and cover both sides. I want the economy to open up. Well, but you messed up in the beginning from controlling the virus. We cannot. You cannot want the economy. You cannot want to have your personal freedom while you don't want to wear a mask or social distance when your government tells you don't have to do it. When you question Dr. Fauci, when you question everything that comes out, when they tell you to drink bleach, that's murder. Okay? You cannot stand the bully pulpit and just sit there and spew falsehoods. This is why I say this is not about media. This is not about whether we have our rights. It's not about whether we believe in science or not. Well, then you want to question everything. Let's question our government. Let's question the vaccine. Then nothing will ever get done. I mean, you have to have certain faith in your government, in your elected officials.
Well, yeah, I would agree with that. And over time, they should earn
that trust,
earn the respect for so many people are so stupid to go to big parties and spread it, and some big fraction of them come out getting positive, and some smaller fraction of that do get sick. And then if people took care of their own health care, even if it was only financial, then I would say people should be entitled to exercise more freedom. But the reality of it is, when people get sick, however they contracted the disease, even if they went to a foolish party, Super Bowl game, whatever the hell it may be, then they expect the system to take care of them. To me, that's hypocritical.
Thank you.
If you want the public to take care of you, if you believe in public health,
do your part.
Then you should listen to what.
Do your part. No,
yeah.
I agree with you.
Do I like wearing a mask? Not especially.
Neither do I.
Yeah, do your part. Okay. I mean, wearing a mask and social distancing and washing your hands is a very small price to pay as an insurance premium against getting sick.
Thank you. There's no questioning that aside.
Some people don't want to do it.
Selfishness. This is who we are as a country. As Americans, we have to recognize a lot of us are like that. You know, I want to go to a bar. I want to go have dinner with my friends. I want to see my people, but I cannot. I want to have celebrations. I cannot. Now, you know what? I want to warn our audience. I want to talk to you about this, but the death rate spikes 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, 2 weeks after holidays. We know New Year's and Christmas, a lot of people gathered. So within the next few days, we're going to see, well, this is exactly 2 weeks since New Year's. So we know the numbers will spike. I see on my social media, my friends, people that I know are out having dinners together, big groups, 20, 30 people. A lot of these people already got it. They already had coronavirus. They got it already. It doesn't mean you cannot get it again. It doesn't mean you're not spreading anymore. They don't care anymore because the vaccine is out.
Even when you test positive, you produce antigens that then will take you from positive back to negative again.
Yes, and so you need to be careful. What I mean is we have to be careful. Everything you said, we should do everything you said. Yeah.
I'm running out of time. The son of one of my close friends passed away, and I need to go to the rosary.
Sorry to hear that. And it's perfect timing. We'll continue next week, Jim.
Okay.
It's always good to see you. Good. Stay safe. Be careful out there. Wear your mask. 好，各位观众，谢谢收看，我们下礼拜再见。疫情很严重，大家要小心啊！各位保重。好，拜拜。
Okay. Bye bye, Jimmy. Thank you.